Hello, I've decided to surprise you tonight and indeed surprise myself. Welcome to This Much Is True, which begs the question, which bit isn't true? Which also means that if they try to sue me, Steve, let me introduce Steve, my best friend in the whole world. See us, two old fuckers with glasses on us. And he used to look like George Clooney, but now it's like George Clooney on a very bad day. Yes, this much is true. So it begs the question, which bit is or isn't? So that means I can't get sued because I'll say, well, it's objective. What bit do you thought was true? I'm not necessarily sure that was, so don't sue me for libeling you. So anyway, I grabbed Steve because I had literally nothing to talk about tonight. Steve is very busy. He's cyber elsewhere at the moment. And he's also monosyllabic, but he can't help that. He has to get up sometimes 2 and 3 times a night to do his business. Don't we all have to do our business in our 60s, Steve?
Of course.
Yes, because what happens is the placenta... Oh, no, that's the wrong term. It's not the placenta. What is it?
Prostate.
The prostate. The prostitute gland. It fucks up. So, listen, we know each other how long? So I think I know you since 72. I would have been aware of your presence. Here's an interesting story, boys and girls. Steve and I met by a quirk. It's like a sliding doors incident. So I'm sorry, Steve, I'm going to have to tell this, even though you subsequently became very, very well off. Steve was kept back at class because he was slow. And I was moved forward a class because I was a genius. Actually, that's not what happened. I was moved forward a class because there was a fuck up because I was an army brat and I was coming back from Israel and the years got mixed up or something. So they discovered that I should be actually, in other words, I would have been like nearly 20 leaving school if they hadn't fixed this glitch. So Steve was coming back. I was going forward. The first teacher we had was a guy, the mutual teacher we had was Brother Wade. Waddy. You liked him, didn't you? Mm-hmm. I don't like anybody really. Brother Wade, though, he was harmless compared to quite a few of them, wasn't he? Mm-hmm. I remember he used to give it, Jesus, this sounds really dodgy, but he used to give us chocolate for doing things, for performing. And I always remember he had Tiffin chocolate, and he'd go, Tiffin. And he was into classical music. And you'd see the dandruff on his frickin' collar, but he was harmless. One thing I never forgave him for. I had a habit of being a bunny in the headlights when it came to doing academic work, because I really didn't know where I was coming or going. Not only had there been a screw up from Israel and everything, but also the school literally around the corner wouldn't take me. Because I couldn't pass their exam. And as a result, I used to get really, really just thick, really, wasn't I?
No, you weren't.
Was.
As you said, the bunny in the headlights.
Yeah.
You got cabin fever or something.
Cabin fever. Wank cabin fever. Sorry for lowering the tone. Or even lowering it. Yeah, no, I remember one day, I would try to cog, which means copy off somebody else, because there was an exam on. And he spotted me doing it. And he just looked at me and he said, no help there, Mark, is there? Because I think whoever probably tried to cog off you. It's the blind leading the blind. So I didn't quite, you know what I'm like? I hold stuff in my nose for decades, you know? That's how.
That's for sure.
We went on then to... we had a ball then. We went on to Lynchy. Lynchy was a teacher who had between his legs a Honda 50, which, by the way, boys and girls, is a kind of motorbike, nothing else. And he was lovely, wasn't he? He died, by the way, in his 90s. And the good news is it wasn't good news, but he had heart issues in his 40s, I think. That's when we knew him. And I've issues. And he went on to his 90s. Mind you, he was slim. But he would give us chocolate as well for performing every Friday, I think it was. This, by the way, was a school called Coláiste Mhuire, which is at the top of Parnell Square. Actually, it has been in the news for the wrong reasons recently. It's not really the same school, though, is it? It's the same name. That's the children were stabbed. But by that bloke in Kalosh tomorrow. Did you know? Steve doesn't know about. He locks himself out of current affairs. He doesn't know about stuff. He knows about.
I go on a news diet.
Yeah, he goes on, and he's probably as well off.
Anoraks like you infecting me with the negativity.
Anoraks like me infecting you, not with negativity, but with reality, Stephen. Are you done insulting me for your guest star appearance? Mm-hmm. So, what do you think? There's 2 or 3 people watching us, Steve. Sure. Yeah, brilliant. And then we went from him. Don't worry, I'm going to speed this up. Then we went to what I call my Vietnam years, because we ended up with a guy called Berkey. And he was a big, baldy motherfucker with rotten, stumpy teeth and no hair. And he'd spend half his time sitting on a thing called like a daze. It's a real old school. It was like a big teacher's lid desk on about a foot or 2 off the ground. And the bastard would be, you know what he'd be doing? He'd be betting on horses. That's what he was doing. He was betting on horses. But he had another sport besides the one of kings, and that was beating the shit out of me in front of everybody. So the scenario would go, he'd ask me, come up here to do a sum. Sum was like math, as they say in the States, or maths here. And I was bunny in the headlights. And then he would paste me around the place, including such highlights as kneeing me up the bum. And the class were in hysterics, most of them. Steve would have been quite stoic about it, probably laughing behind my back. But yeah, it was like Gladiator. It was like Gladiator. And I was like this little Christian taken out to be fucking hurled in front of the howling masses. What do you think that is, Steve? US.
What do you mean? What is it?
I'm just trying to put you on the spot.
It's a phone connector.
The phone connector. Anyway, that used to happen. Now, Steve would sit in my corner. Well, I'd be crying, wouldn't I? Because he ripped my jacket. He ripped my jacket.
That was only an extreme day.
Yeah, and there was a lot of it when he fucking tortured me. He did. Then we went on to. I'm going to finish off with this one because this is primary school. But then we went on to a guy which was kind of. I think he was worse than Berkey because he was into destroying your soul as opposed to just baiting you about the place. And he was known as Sambo. Yeah, he was a Christian brother, and that's like a
Didn't you do that
contradiction in terms.
Didn't you do that famous movie about him?
No, I did a thing. Yes, I might have been of some service to the state. But anyway, I won't talk about that. And he would tell me how shit I was. He would tell me. We were joking about this today. He said, when I got a sum right, there'd be 3 blue moons. Remember that? Mm-hmm. I hated him as well because he was a shit. And here's what he did. You say to yourself, a man in his 40s or 50s, what would he be? Late 40s at the time? How he can derive pleasure from. So there was to be an exam. And again, it was fucking maths exam, freaking Leonardo here. And the maths exam was to take place, but I decided that I was going to, for the first and only time in my life, I was going to mitch off school. So I hung around on June 11th, 1975, which was my mother's birthday, with my school bag under my arm, imagining every policeman was looking for me. I hid out in the Phoenix Park. No, I didn't. I hid out in Stephen's Green. And so I thought I'd miss the exam. I'll miss the exam, right? Which I did. So I came in on the Monday and he said, so where were you on Friday? I said, I had to get fitted for my communion. Or so, confirmation. I had to get fitted for my confirmation outfit. Sorry, brother. And you missed the exam now, did you? He said to me, smiling. Those fuckers that smile when they're ready to pounce. I hate them. And we used to call him Sambo as well because he'd been to the missions and he looked like a big lump of chocolate. And he said, oh, that's sad, isn't it? You missed the exam on Friday. And I said, yeah, I'm very sorry about that. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's the confirmation. It's the confirmation. Like a little seal I was. It's the confirmation suit that I had to get. It's all right, young Mark, he said to me. It's all right. Don't worry about it. I kept it in the fucking oven for you. Or words to that effect. And he take out the exam, so he had it kept for me, right? He couldn't just let me away that I'd missed the exam. But what he did was the pièce de la résistance, the coup de grâce, Steve, is he put the desk out right in front. Now, people wonder why I'm paranoid. He put the fucking desk out in front of everybody. Again, it was a cross between Bunny and the Headlights and looking at Greek. NG, no grade, right? Which meant I've totally failed. Now, we could talk about secondary school. Very briefly, I'll touch on it. It was a completely different experience. Steve and I became really kind of where we're at this stage, because we kind of were bumping into each other in those other years. So in 76, which was the year of the American Bicentennial. Yeah, I remember that. It all opened up because it was secondary school, or high school as you say in the States. And that was a completely different kettle of fish. So it was. Tell us all about high school, Steve. No, you're too busy cyber elsewhere. So it was just like with different teachers for different subjects. Most of them didn't have pets like in the old days, didn't? Well, some did. But it was great. It was like new learning. And everything was moving faster. You couldn't just be stuck looking at the pimples on the back of some old fucking teacher's neck or his size 9 warts someday, all day, watching that big frickin' clock go tick-tock, the old wooden 1930s clocks. Yeah, instead you were with it. We had a new teacher, and some of them were cool teachers, and some of them were filthy fucking, they didn't wear suits, they wore carpet. They were old and decrepit, and their genitals didn't work properly. And ours all did at that age. They certainly did. The hormones were raging. Steve used to get a popper like a pole vault. He would just pole vault into school. He was just so sexually driven. Not a lot has changed. But he had, like, all the buses knew Steve. Here's the guy with the 12-foot popper. And Steve would bounce in on his massive, big dereliction to duty. And he'd bounce around. No, I'm not. He doesn't like that. He doesn't like it. He thinks it's going to go viral, which, believe me, it won't based on the viewership I have. But no, so it was much different. And I had a crush, didn't I, Steve, on my math teacher. Because she's the only one who treated me with any civility. And get this, suddenly, from getting NG, I distinctly remember getting 73% in a maths exam. Why? Because she made time for people. She didn't, and some people gave her a bad press, but I will always stick up for Helen. My lovely Helen, I don't know if you're still with us, but you were so good to me. And she had no pets, so nobody could ingratiate themselves with her. She was tough as well, because it was kind of pre-corporal punishment being banned, so you could get a belt of her big knuckle duster if you weren't careful. But she liked her little Marco, and she did her best to work with me. And I never failed my intercert maths, nor my leaving cert maths. Thank you, Helen. I won't give your second name, just in case. You were lovely. And she'd say, don't be worrying about getting the answer right. Let me work you through. You'll get points for the formulas. If the procedure is correct, you will get points. And points make prizes. Then we arsed around and worked in the same company for a little bit. Steve and I both had military-type aspirations. Being from a military family, I thought, and just as well, I would have made the shittiest fucking officer. There's no way. So I missed...
You made an NCO, didn't you?
I know, I didn't make NCO, but I did get 2 Best Soldier awards.
That's it, yeah.
And I used to think, oh, that's to do with my old man, because he's high up in the army. Not at all. I actually earned them on my own merit. So in our little territorials, yes, I did.
Serve your brother.
I did, who was an officer. I got to serve him his food one day, and he laughed, and his fucking mates and Mary Hicks with their low necklines all laughed at me. But anyway, so I was down an honor or whatever they call it. So I would have got in. I would have got in, but it's just as well, because I would have blown up the barracks with ineptitude. So I found this other totally colourful career, which totally suited me, in sales, in the world of corporate sales. I know it sounds boring, but it was great. It was like being in the mafia. We had fucking foreign holidays. We made loads of money. We had nice suits and cars and bonus bonds. And my life started to shine. And everyone else, I mean, this was in the middle of the 80s, where everyone else was leaving the country. People thought we were into drugs, because we always had tans and cars and stuff. So that all happened. But Steve, no, I won't say what happened to you. Steve had aspirations to be a naval, because he was brilliant and still is, all things maritime. He'll do the Atlantic and everything, he will sail across it. Right, I think this has exhausted it for now anyway, Steve. It's been lovely looking at Steve's profile and his monosyllabic contribution to the show, but I did think it would make a difference. Oh, I'm away for the weekend. Yeah, I am. My daughter's 21 years of age, Steve. They're all off my hands now. They're all in tonight. The glasses definitely give a perv look, don't they? It's like, young lady, what's in your school bag? It's like, they're very dodgy, aren't they? Hello, would you like to see the puppies, young man? You have to do that bit. Hello, young man. Sorry to waylay you. That's a real pervy word. Excuse me, young boy. Sorry to waylay you, but would you like... Waylay being the operative word. But would you like to see the puppies? And then he get ever so angry. Young man, would you like to see the puppies? It's not working. Take care, 'cause I care.